right now, I want you guys to start clapping. 1, 2, 3 for Brian Roe!
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Give it up for Jarrell Scott Barnes and Jenny Gephardt one more time, please. Give it up for them. I love them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. We are filming this, so if you're here with someone you shouldn't be, duck your head. Duck your head. Stay low. We are filming this, so if you're watching this at home, put your phone away for 45 minutes and just pay attention. And if you're watching on your phone, ignore all text, all calls. Just focus on me 45 minutes. That's all I'm asking for the people at home. And I'm looking forward to the reviews. The first one's going to be like, I missed the birth of my godchild because this fucking idiot told me to ignore texting calls. By the way, if anyone's phone in here goes off during this, I will lose my fucking shit. I'm not kidding. I will lose. I don't know why phones aren't all just set to vibrate automatically. It's insane. No one wants to hear your personality. No one cares. I was in a meeting the other day and I just heard ducks. And I looked over and this guy goes, oh, I like hunting. And I was like, seems like a good way to get shot hunting, man. Like, it's over there. That guy just got Dick Cheney. That's what happened there. The only thing more insane to me than ringtones is people who have the strobe setting on when they get text messages. Who is that for? What are you doing? That's great you're playing at girls' night. My buddy Cole's having epileptic seizure right now. So, great. Deborah's bringing the wine. Good. Glad to see you guys are drinking. Yeah, we're drinking. Yeah, I love it. I love to drink. I love it too much. I got so drunk at a bachelor party this past year, I texted a woman I've only slept with twice that I loved her and missed her. Not a good night for Brian Roe. I woke up the next morning, I was like, how the fuck do I save this? So I texted her, I was like, these Russian hackers are getting weirdly specific. I was like, how do they know I love you? What's going on in Russia? Didn't text back, so I'm single. I prefer to be single. It's cool. I prefer to be single because I prefer to sleep on a diagonal across my bed. Yeah, rather than have I prefer to sleep on a diagonal across my bed rather than have someone who loves me. So it works out perfect being this alone. Went through my first heartbreak last year. That was weird. 28, a little late in life. No, it's fine. It's cool. I learned. It's an important part of life, I think. It's an important part of life. It was bad. It was so bad I started listening to country music. That's how bad it got. Really got in touch with my fellow whites. Yeah, I'll say this. If you know someone listening to Garth Brooks and they are not in a crowded bar or a pickup truck, you have a friend in a low fucking place. Everyone tries to give you advice when you're going through heartbreak. My buddy's aunt walked up to me and she goes, heard you went through heartbreak this year. It's tough. I did too. I was like, yeah. She's like, I also lost a tit because of cancer. I'm like, I don't feel so bad about mine anymore. And she goes, it's cool. What I learned from that is when you lose things, it teaches you how strong you can be. I'm like, that's good. She's like, I got a tattoo to commemorate it. Would you like to see that? I was like, sure. And she pulls up her shirt. And where her breast used to be is tattooed a giant middle finger. And in cursive, it says, fuck cancer and Gerald. I'm like, oh, I see. Both. Commemorated both. Fuck that guy, yeah. She's like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting a fakie put in so it pops out. Really let people know. Everyone tries to give you advice on dating. My buddy the other day is like, I found a new way to get women's attention online. I was like, what's that? And he's like, I like their old photos on Instagram. I was like, don't do that. No. What? I was like, can I see one you liked? And he's like, sure. So he pulls up this picture, and it's a woman holding a white schnauzer in like a bag. And it's a 9-year-old photo. I was like, did you read the caption on this? And he's like, I did not. And I was like, could you read it out loud for me right now? And he reads, and he goes, 2 years without Bitsy. Really miss her. I'm like, you just like the picture of an 11-year-old dead dog. You fucking psycho. And he goes, maybe she'll think I love animals. I'm like, maybe she'll think you skinned them, you weirdo. I'm learning about a lot of things on dating. I learned this past year, never ask a woman where a bruise in the crotchal region came from, because what you're going to hear is a fucking lie. Goes something like, oh, I'm clumsy, must have ran into something, but your brain's not going to agree with that. Your brain's going to go, yeah, she ran into her ex, and they had sex. That's what she ran into. And then you're just going to start an argument. I don't know that from experience. Someone told me that one. That was not me. Someone told me that. Yeah, no. Learned a lot. Gave up on dating apps. I still have them. I just use them to promote comedy shows now. I'm just like, come to my show. I don't want to meet you. Just come. Yeah, no. Gave up. I'm trying to meet people in regular life. That's hard. I recently ran into a woman on the street when I was turning a corner, and she was like holding a bunch of papers, and she spilled them. So I helped her collect them, and I was like, I'm sorry. And we grabbed the same one and locked eyes like a goddamn romantic comedy. And I was like, oh, wow, she's beautiful. And we stood up, and I was like, I'm so sorry about that. She's like, it's fine. And she's like, I'm going this way. I'm like, oh, I'm going that way too. So we walked together, and we started talking. She was smart and funny and interesting. I'm like, oh, my God, am I in love? And then we got to where she was going, and she's like, all right, this is me. And it was the Church of Scientology. So I went inside and I read some pamphlets because my standards are fucking low. I will read some pamphlets with Tom Cruise's face on them. I don't give a shit. Tom Cruise. It's crazy that dude's the Jesus of a religion. He's Scientology's Jesus. Jesus had holes in his hands. Tom Cruise front middle tooth is to the left too much. Google it. It'll fucking ruin every movie you ever watch with him again. Yeah, that dude makes me believe in Scientology though. Like I think there's something to it because of him, because he jumped on Oprah's couch. Do you know how out of your mind you have to be to jump on a black woman's couch and not be immediately fucking murdered? There's a higher power watching out for that man. Fuck every stunt he's ever done. That's the most impressive thing. I've learned this past year ghosting sucks. Oh, ghosting sucks. Yeah. If you're old and you don't know what that is, it's not what's happening to your friends. It's a term that we use now. It's a term we use now to describe when like someone you're talking to just cuts you out of their life. There's some old people in the back groaning. Yeah, no. It's when someone just cuts you out of their life, which like before the internet was fine because you used to be like, they might have got murdered. Who the fuck cares? Now you have to see their presence on the internet and know they just don't want you in their life, and it hurts. I got ghosted by a Spirit Airlines flight attendant. That is the most ironic sentence that will ever come out of my mouth. Yeah, it turns out they will, in fact, not handle your baggage without an aggressive fee. That is a real fucking thing. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a good person. I ghosted someone, but I ghosted them for a good reason. I ghosted someone because they said I have nice arms, and a relationship cannot start on a lie. That is a fucking thing. Can't start a relationship on a lie. I know who I am. This is my body. Look at this shit. I am barely here. I am barely alive right now. Right now, the only way I can get laid, shave my beard, trick a high school teacher. That's all I got going for me. I have the body of a high school senior. I don't know what to say. Literally, this was my body when I was a senior in high school. I haven't gained weight. I can't lose weight. I'll die. So this is just my body. Everyone's always like, that's got to be nice. I'm a 29-year-old man. No, it is not. If I'm at a bar and I bump a guy and he's like, you want to take this outside? That's not going to be a fight. That's going to be an assault. I'm not a lover or a fighter. I am a victim. I barely weigh enough to turn passenger seat airbags on. That's a real thing in my life. This past year, I had to buy a child's extra large dress belt because they don't sell small men's dress belts in stores. Yeah. It goes to the fucking third notch. I don't feel good about it. I had to walk up to another grown man who was this cashier and hand him this belt. And he scans it and he goes, you got kids at home? And I went, nope. And he went, ugh. And I was like, I like the way it feels around my neck when I'm alone. Mind your fucking business, Target. Yep. This is my face. If you don't like it, deal with it. I am. Yeah, this is my face. It hasn't always been my face, actually. I had a nose job when I was 17 years old. It did not take. Look at this fucking thing. It did not take. The doctors came and they're like, we tried our hardest. There's nothing we could do. I really did have a nose job when I was 17. I used to have a big hook in it, and now it's straight like this. Yeah, so I went from people being like Jew to people being like Jewish. The only people who call me hot in life are other straight white men, which is not the demographic I'm going for. Like, the best I do with women is cute, and one time a lady said I look like Adam Levine, but she smoked crack, so that definitely does not count. Did this joke in Wisconsin one time, and a woman in the audience goes, "Can you sing like Adam Levine?" I was like, ma'am, if I could sing like Adam Levine, do you think I'm doing stand-up for 8 drunk people in South Beloit, Wisconsin? I can't even do regular Beloit. No, I can't sing like Adam Levine. I'd be waking up underneath a model. I learned a lot about myself this past year. I learned I have what's known as a gambling addiction. I like to put money on shit. Yeah, no, I do. NFL wide receiver Calvin Ridley got in trouble this past year for gambling because if you're a professional athlete, you aren't allowed to gamble on the sport you play, and he got caught gambling. And then it came out he was injured at the time and he wasn't playing with the team. And then it came out he only gambled on his team to win, which means he got in trouble for believing in his friends. Dude, every March I blow a paycheck on college basketball. Those are kids who are still going through puberty. I'm like, win me new shoes, child. And this guy's like, I just hope my friends do well. I threw a fucking shoe at a TV this past March because a kid with a wispy mustache beat Purdue. Yeah. I spent all last summer gambling on European soccer. I've never watched a single game in my fucking life. I almost won 80 grand on a single bet. That's a real thing. On a $5 bet, I almost won $80,000. I did a 12-pick parlay, which if you aren't a degenerate, it means I picked 12 games. If they all hit, I would have won $80,000. I missed it by one fucking game. Yeah. Germany lost. And I was like, this is the worst thing these people have ever done to anybody. This is the worst shit. This is terrible. Maybe the Volkswagen thing, but this is a close second. Learning about myself, I realized I have bad road rage. Bad road rage. I was going to make a turn at a six-way intersection recently. There's too many in Chicago. I don't know why we have them. I was going to make a turn at a six-way intersection as the light changed red, and this car blew through the red light. So instinctually, I turned around and flipped him off. And the guy behind me had honked at the guy going through the red light, but he thought I was flipping him off for honking. And I found out he had way worse road rage. And he turned with me, and then he sped up next to me and got next to me. And to set the vibe, he had a Dodge Charger with a giant Punisher skull painted on the side. You know, like chill people have. And he goes, roll your window down. I was like, I don't want to do that. And he goes, roll it down. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I roll my window down, and he holds up his middle finger. He goes, hey, man, I'm not retarded. You're retarded. Which is an aggressive thing to say in 2022. But it's also not what the middle finger means. That's never been what it's meant. So I just immediately said, are you sure? And then he got real upset. He's like, you want to pull over and fight? And I was like, based on that last sentence, I feel like that'd be a hate crime. I don't think we can. This is all happening at 35 miles per hour, by the way. We're speeding down the hot. And then he got real upset, and he sped up in front of me, and he got right in front of me and started pumping his brakes. And I should have been upset by that, but all I could focus on was he had a giant coexist bumper sticker. I was like, there's no way he knows what that means. I was like, this man leads the most confused life of all time. Bumper sticker. People with Jesus Fish bumper stickers confuse me, right? Because everyone with the Jesus Fish bumper sticker drives so cautiously, and all I could think is, you believe or not? Because either he's going to take the wheel or you're going to meet him, but hit the gas for Christ's sakes. I have places to be. I'm only afraid of two things in life. I'm afraid of dying and balding, and that's it. And the second one sounds shallow, but when you got a face like this, balding is a form of social death. So really it's only one fear. People are always like, you can check for baldness. It's genetic. It's your mom's dad, which sounds nice, but my mom's dad walked out when they were kids, and that's a weird conversation to have with your mom. Hey, Ma, I know you're still torn about your dad leaving and all, but do you remember on his way out? Was it luscious up top? Or could you see your tears in a reflection off the back of his head? What was going on there? Everyone's always like, why don't you track him down? So I did. I tracked him down. He's in Texas in a cemetery. Died in 01. So I bought a Ouija board, and I tracked his ass down spiritually. I'm like, let's get this answer. I was like, hey, man, were you bald in life? Because I believe in an afterlife, and everyone has great hair. So I was like, hey, man, were you bald in life? And the Ouija board moved. It scared the shit out of me. It said, went to get cigarettes, BRB. I'm like, wow, he's consistent. He fucking hates his family. Everyone always says being afraid of balding is shallow, but I've had 2 terrible haircuts in my life that make me know it matters. Here's the thing. The second awful haircut, I was a sophomore in college. My buddy was like, hey, I'm buzzing people's hair. You want me to do yours? I'm like, I'm lazy. I don't want to go get a haircut. Sure. And at the time, I wore my hair like a mop, so I had no idea what the number system was for buzzers. So he sat me down. He's like, what number do you do? I'm like, I have no idea, man. Just go with what you feel with. And he goes, all right, I'll do a 1, which I didn't know was basically bald. So I sat down, and I'm looking at this wall, and he buzzes my hair. And I stood up and looked in the mirror. And with this face and this body, it looked like I had just time traveled from 1940s Germany summer camp. I was like, there's no fucking way I can ever go bald. The first awful haircut I ever had, I was a 7th grader. My dad, He goes, hey, the barber's not in town. I'll cut your hair for you. And he gave me what can only be described as the most aggressive bowl cut in human history. It looked like he put a fucking salad bowl on my head and just went around with scissors. And I don't know if you guys know this, but 7th graders are the meanest goddamn people on earth. I went into 7th grade, and they called me bowl cut bitch boy Brian for 2 weeks. And the only reason they stopped was because a kid in our grade spilled orange juice on his pants during lunch, and he went to the bathroom and wet the entire front of his pants because, to quote him, maybe if it's even, they won't notice. They fucking noticed. And they called that kid Piss Pants Pussy Pete for 4 years, which didn't even make sense because his name was Jonathan. Bunch of alliteration-loving assholes. I'm a hypochondriac. My fear of death has made me a hypochondriac. I go to the doctor a lot. I recently was at the doctor, and he removed a mole from my back, and he goes, we'll let you know in a week if it's cancerous. I'm like, cool, I'll spend a week in panic. Great. And a week later, I get a call from a lab tech, and he just goes, the mole is unremarkable. Didn't even say hi. Just goes, the mole is unremarkable. And I was like, did you just tell me I don't have cancer and it's boring? What the fuck? I was like, dude, I have insurance and I paid $300. Send me a bottle of champagne and a fucking singer. I am a hypochondriac. I go to the doctor a lot. I was at the doctor. We were looking through blood work. He's like, your blood sugar looks good. Your iron looks good. Then he paused and hit refresh and went, I was like, what's up with that? And he goes, do you know what LDL is? And I go, yeah, Lil Dicky lookalike. And he goes, what the fuck did you just say? And I'm like, Lil Dicky, the Jewish rapper. People say I look like him. Is that not it? And he goes, why would that be it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Why are we doing a pop quiz? What's going on here right now? He goes, no, man, it's low-density lipoprotein. It's bad cholesterol. Yours, impressively high for your weight. I was like, what is it? He's like, 140. I was like, what should it be? He's like, 70. I was like, fuck, that is impressive. And he's like, I'm not going to high-five you. I'm like, then don't use impressive as your adjective, man. I don't know what to tell you. And he goes, man, I have a 74-year-old man coming in after you. His cholesterol is what yours should be. What's your diet like? I was like, well, I do stand-up comedy, so I mostly eat bar food and fast food. And I live above a pizza place, so I eat that like 5 times a week. And he goes, doesn't that get old? I'm like, have you ever had pizza? No, it doesn't get old, man. And he goes, okay, you got to change your diet. You got to start eating fruits, vegetables, fish. It'll lower it. And I go, that's not good. And he goes, okay, here's what happens if you don't. You put yourself at risk for heart attack, heart disease, stroke, and on many occasions, erectile dysfunction. I was like, lead with that last one. You would have sold me right away. Just be like, hey, your dick's not going to work. I'd be like, let's go get some fish, dude. I was walking out of this man's office. This 74-year-old man was walking in. Shredded, absolutely shredded for 74. Like, he was so muscular for 74. And the doctor stops the 74-year-old man and goes, hey, tell this young man what your life motto is. And the 74-year-old man looks me in the eyes and goes, if you don't want to look like a skinny little bitch, eat lots of fish. And I was like, am I unpunked right now? That's so specific for what's happening in my life. What the fuck? I see a therapist. I do. If you haven't been listening, I see a therapist. Yeah, I do. We were recently sitting down and he was saying, in my 20 years of counseling, I've dealt with people who are drug addicts, people who have been shot at, people who are in gangs, people who are war veterans, and you have the most aggressive fear of death I've ever seen. And I was like, honestly, man, just nice to hear I'm the best at something. We're just being honest. We're doing a good job. His office in the Loop. It's in a very nice part of the city. I recently was walking out of his office, and a man in a suit and tie ran up to me and went, looking for cocaine? I was like, nah, I'm good, man. He goes, no, I'm looking for cocaine. Do you have cocaine? Will you sell me cocaine? I was like, stop saying cocaine so loud, you fucking narc. I was like, is this how people buy drugs in nice areas? Like, we're scalping tickets? What's going on right now, man? And I go, sir, what about me says I sell drugs? And at that moment, a guy sleeping on the building propped himself up and went, everything. And I went, what? And he goes, everything about you says you sell drugs, man. It's your vibe. And I went, are you homeless? And he went, that's my vibe. People are afraid of the homeless, and I don't get it. I don't get it at all. People are afraid of homeless people. All the homeless want is the same thing Obama wanted in 2008. They just want change. Just give them your change. That's it. I get it. There's a shortage. You don't got to give them quarters. I know. I was sitting in my car recently. This man walked up to me. I didn't have any change, and I felt bad. I'm like, sorry, man. He goes, can I get that water bottle on the seat next to you? I was like, I'm not going to drink it. Sure. And as I reached for it, he goes, wait, is it cold? I don't fuck with room temperature. And I, without even thinking, went, but you live at room temperature. And he goes, what? And I was like, didn't mean to say it out loud. That's what. And he goes, what are you saying? I'm like, let's say the world is your room. Whatever temperature it is, you live at it. And he goes, I'm confused still. I'm like, because you're homeless. And he goes, I'm not homeless. And I went, what? And he goes, this is my side hustle. And I go, excuse me? And he goes, a side hustle is a job you do. I'm like, I know what the fuck a side hustle is. Pretending to be homeless is not one. And he goes, I hate paperwork. And the light changed. I had to drive off. And I've thought about that man every day for a month. I'm like, what the fuck does this guy do for a day job? Is he in an office somewhere just stamping documents? Like, God damn, I can't wait to go beg for change later. Weird day, man. I've had a lot of weird days in my life. The weirdest day of my life happened a little over a year ago, September 13th, 2021. It was the day before I'd gone to the White Sox game with my friends. So I drank a lot of beers there. And then it was the first day of NFL games. So we went to a bar, drank a lot of beers there, went home pretty hammered, woke up Monday morning very hungover, drove to work. And the first thing that happened was I saw a coworker who a week before had told me his wife had started making homemade peanut butter cups. I was like, oh my God, that's my favorite candy. Will you bring me one? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I see this coworker first thing Monday morning. He's like, hey man, I got your peanut butter cup. And he hands me this single peanut butter cup in a clear plastic bag with a bow on it and a label. I was like, that's really fancy. Wow, look at you guys. And he walks away and I was like, I'm so hungover, I'm going to treat myself. And I popped the whole thing in my mouth. And it had peanut butter and jelly, which Reese's doesn't got. Then you Scepter came up. I was like, this is good. And then I looked at the bag and I read the label. And his wife's name is Madison. And the label on the bag said Medicinals. I was like, that's cute. Oh, fuck me on a Monday. What is going on right now? So I immediately picked up my phone and texted him. I was like, hey, man, is there weed in this peanut butter cup? And he goes, yeah, didn't I say that? I was like, no, not one time did you say weed, pot, reefer, the devil's lettuce, sticky icky. You didn't say any of that shit, man. And he goes, my bad, with the shrug emoji. And I was like, what should I do? And he goes, enjoy this 90s sitcom day. I don't know what to tell you, man. I was like, are they strong edibles? And he goes, no, they're light. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And I was like, all right, cool. He's like, just chill out. And I was like, all right. Here's the thing. If I worked at a desk job during the day, no problem. Pull up Excel, pretend to punch numbers in, trick people. I work construction management during the day at the airport. I drive around planes all day long. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait, all the baggage handlers are high. That's why all the planes are late. Maybe I can get away with this. Seriously, they're all just like, I think that says Colorado. I don't know. And I thought about who I am when I smoke weed, and this is true. I really wish this was not true. I only smoke joints, and I'll smoke half a joint by myself. And then with that leftover half, I'll put that in a cereal bowl, and I'll put a plate on top of that, and I'll put all that in the sink because I'm afraid it's going to start itself back on fire and burn my apartment down. So probably shouldn't drive around planes today. So I called my boss, and I was like, hey, man, I think I'm about to shit my pants. And he's like, go home. And I'm like, it's that easy? And he goes, what? And I'm like, nothing. And I hang up. And then I get in my car, and I was like, okay, it's a 40-minute drive from this airport to my apartment. I just need to get home before this edible kicks in. I got 10 minutes in this car ride, and I'm like, I am in a fucking rocket ship, and Kid Cudi is my co-pilot, and we are off on an adventure, baby. Tell Elon Musk he can forget the rocket ships. I found the way to get to outer space. Yeah, and I was on the highway for a little bit, and I was like, I'm too high for the highway, which is ironic. And I was like, all right, let's get off. So I pulled off at the next exit I saw, but then I realized I was too high to read street signs, so I had no clue where in the city I was. I was like, how do I get home? I was like, oh, I know. I'll Google Maps my own address. So I punched it into Google Maps, and it pulled it up. But I was so high I forgot how Google Maps worked. So whenever it said to turn, I just took the next one of those. It normally says turn in 1 mile. I just turned left the next left. And then I was like, all right, next right. Cool. And I just kept doing that. And at one point, I heard Google Maps go, what the fuck are you doing, man? And I don't even have the voice command on, so I don't know where that came from. It took me an hour 40 to get home. Finally get home. I lived on the corner of a corner building at the time. I pull up to this corner, and luckily, the spot right in front of my apartment was open. The universe was like, you're not parallel parking today. You're having a bad day. So I pulled up and I parked, and I was like, okay, let's just get my bag and get inside. We'll figure this all out then. So I get out of the car, and I walk around to the other side of my car, and I go, damn, doors are locked. So I walk back around, unlock the doors. I start walking back, and I was like, oh, the keys are still in the ignition. Probably should grab those. Walk back, grab my keys, walk back around, get my backpack, and go, man, I am too high to be alive right now. And I walk inside, and I lay down. I'm like, let's just sleep. And then all of a sudden I hear my brain go, "Hey, Brian." And I'm like, "What's up, brain?" And my brain goes, "Isn't it crazy how close Brian and brain are in spelling?" And I went, "Oh, shit, that is crazy." And then my brain goes, "Isn't it crazy you're going to die one day?" I'm like, "You're a dick. Why would you say that?" I'm like, "I guess we're not sleeping." He goes, "No, we're not." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Let's just go for a walk." I'm like, "I'll walk this off. We'll be fine." But I was so high, my legs stopped working correctly. So all I have to say is fuck flat earthers. I felt every inch of the earth's curve that day. I was walking uphill in every direction. I looked like fucking Bambi out of the womb walking down the street. I decided to get Gatorade. It took me 25 minutes to get to the 7-Eleven that was 5 minutes away. And I don't know if you've been in 7-Eleven when you're high, but it's the scariest place on earth. There's too many options. And I walked in, and I was like, I'm going to get a Gatorade. We're going to be fine. And I walked up to the freezer, and I was so high I forgot there was glass there. So I just tried to reach and grab it. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? There's a force field in front of this Gatorade. And then eventually someone walked in and just opened the door for me. I was like, "Oh, thank God you came, sir. You're a hero." And I grabbed the Gatorade, and I walked up to the cashier, who clearly knew I was high as fuck. And he goes, "You good, man?" And I just went. And I paid for the Gatorade and walked outside, and I immediately chugged half of it in front of the store. And I looked back at the cashier, and he was staring at me, and I just went. I was like, "Let's walk home." Did the same cripple-legged walk back home, just shaking all the way. And I got to the corner right by my apartment, and I was like, I feel like I've been standing at this corner waiting for this light to change forever. And then I realized I was staring at a construction sign, and the light was just blinking orange. I was like, "Oh, I'm dumb." And I finally get home. I'm like, "Thank God, let's lay down." And I fall asleep for 4 hours. And I wake up so fucking high still. I was like, what is going on? I thought this was a light edible. So I texted my coworker and I was like, "Hey man, you said these were light." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I lied. They are very fucking strong." He's like, "You're going to be high for at least 3 more hours." I'm like, "You're a terrible person." He goes, "I know." I don't know if I really gained anything from that experience other than 3 things. If you got to drive while you're high, listen to Kid Cudi. Chug Gatorade if you can. And don't take food from any human being on this earth ever again. If my mom came up right now and was like, "You want a casserole?" I'd be like, "Is there weed in it, Diane? What's going on here? Are you drugging me?" That story is allegedly true, by the way. Yeah, no, it's allegedly, because I've been saying this around the country, and then I realized my coworker could get fired. So, I don't know how the law works, but I watched Better Call Saul, and I think as long as you say allegedly, do whatever the fuck you want. So many rappers could have avoided prison time if they just worked allegedly into songs. So many. Just like a song like, "I used to live on the block, shoot dice, sell rocks." The FBI's listening. They're like, "Rocks, that's code for crack. We got him." Next line. "I push weight effortlessly. Of course, I only did it all allegedly." And the FBI's like, "God damn it. Fuck it. I watched Better Call Saul. As long as you say that, you can get away with whatever the fuck you want." Become friends with a lot of local rappers. And what I've learned recently talking to one is I don't know any of these people's real names. I've been calling them nicknames they gave themselves. So I asked the guy, I was like, "Hey, man, what's your real name?" And he leans in and he goes, "It's Eugene." I was like, "Don't ever say that shit out loud again." I was like, "Don't ever. You just lost all street cred. You just lost all. I do not believe you shoot up blocks. I believe you work at H&R Block and do taxes. That's what you do." I listen to Mac Miller's Tiny Desk concert every few weeks because I like to cry. Yeah, I do. Yeah, no, I listen to it. And what I've learned from this is YouTube has no clue where to place any ad in any video over 10 minutes long. It's fucking insane. Every time I watch it, this happens. This Tiny Desk concert, it ends with a song called 2009. It's Mac Miller's reflection on where he was at his career at that point versus where he started in his career. And there's this beautiful violin piece to start. And then he does the chorus, and the first verse starts, and it goes, "Yeah, okay, you gotta jump in to swim. Well, the light was dim, and this life is sin. And every day I wake up and breathe. I don't have it all, but that's all right with me. Take it." And the McRib is back at McDonald's. And now I'm just weeping to a McDonald's commercial like, this isn't the Mac I miss. These come back every 2 months. Oh, I love rap and hip-hop. I love rap and hip-hop lines I don't relate to. Brent Fires has a song called Clouded. In this song, he's got a line where he goes, "I've been a fucking superstar since I was 19. The shit we did, you wouldn't believe me." And you want to know what? I wouldn't believe him. I had my first kiss when I was 19. You were fucking? What's going on here? Said this joke at a show one time, and my 13-year-old cousin was in the audience and went, "You're a fucking loser." I was like, "You are correct. It would devastate you know when I lost my virginity." Absolutely. It's the same number Jordan wears. Some people wait till marriage. I'm so Chicago. I was like, we got to hit that Jordan year, baby. Oh, yeah. No. I love hip-hop lines I don't relate to. Rihanna's got a song where she goes, sex with me is so amazing. Don't know what that's like. The last 4 women I slept with all went back to their exes. Sex with me makes you miss somebody. It's okay. I'm starting a business. If you are a man who misses his ex, pay me $100 and convince her to have sex with me, and you can have her back in a week and a half. I've done the research. That's how long it takes. I'm fine. Everybody groans at that. I'm fine. I'm doing good. I got hit on by a gay man for the first time recently. Life's great. That's the greatest confidence boost of all time. I didn't know I cared that my shoes matched my clothes until that moment. Yeah, no. Here's the thing. I'm not gay, but I have friends who are, so I want to be respectful in that moment. So they're like, what has every girl you've hit on at a bar done? So I dumped him off my friend Reggie and got the fuck out of the bar as fast as I could. I was like, not my problem anymore. But Reggie's my dumbest friend. We all have a friend, when they talk, you go, what the fuck did they just say? That's Reggie. Reggie, one time I was going to get in his car, and I was like, hey, man, you left the funeral procession sticker on the back of your car. And he goes, no, you can go through red lights with that. I'm like, no, you cannot. Give me the keys. Dumbest person I know, man. One time we were sitting in his car and the windows started to fog up. I was like, hey, you should throw the defrosters on. And he goes, to thaw out chicken? I was like, how are you alive? My favorite was he was making drinks for us one time. And he goes, you want a lime with this? I was like, sure. And he pulls out this disgusting looking thing. I was like, what the fuck is that? And he goes, it's a lime. I made it myself. I was like, you mean you grew it? He's like, no, I made it. I was like, you want to explain that one to me? He's like, if you leave a lemon out long enough, eventually it just turns into a lime. I'm like, what? No, dude. No, I'm not eating anything in this house ever again. So I left that guy with a gay man at a bar. And I saw him later that night. And he's like, why'd you leave? That guy you left me with, he was so friendly. He kept buying me drinks, gave me a shoulder rub. We're getting dinner next week. And I was like, Reggie, he was gay, right? He's like, couldn't have been. I checked. I was like, what the fuck do you mean you checked? And he's like, I put my arms up. That scares him away. I'm like, that's bears. And he goes, yeah, hairy gay men. I'm like, God damn you, no, the other bears. And this man looks me straight in the face and goes, I don't think anyone in the Chicago Bears would be afraid of me. I'm like, have fun on your date. If he pays, you better put out. Dumbest human being I know. One time he was so dumb he was smart on accident. It was incredible. We were watching Will Smith's Pursuit of Happiness, the movie, and there's a scene in that movie where Will Smith turns to his son and says, you can be whatever you want in life. Don't let anybody tell you can't, not even me. Beautiful moment. And Reggie goes, man, he stole that from Mike King. And I was like, the guy we used to buy drugs from in high school? What are you talking about? And he goes, no, dude, the famous speaker, Mike King. I was like, are you talking about Martin Luther King Jr. right now? And he goes, that dude's name was Mike. I'm like, no, it was not. We can Google that shit right now. What history classes did you take? So we Googled it, and it turns out Reggie was right. Martin Luther King Jr.'s original name, Michael King Jr. They changed it after his father did a mission trip in Europe and studied Martin Luther. I was like, holy shit, Reggie. How'd you know that? And he goes, I was saying the guy we used to buy drugs from in high school. And I was like, why would you think that? And he goes, he used to always tell us to believe in ourselves. I'm like, no, he did not. Not one time. He used to always say, I believe you owe me $30 for this eighth, and you never paid him. I think we should start editing history to make it more fun. I know the first half of that sentence, January 60th. I think we should edit history to make it more fun, right? There's this whole thing online where people like Abe Lincoln might have been gay. Fuck it, he's not alive. Let's just say he was. History's so much more fun. Have you seen the top hat? He was probably gay. Not many dudes were wearing them back then. I've looked at photos. I think it meant something. I think it meant I like things that are long and hard. That's what I think. It'd be more fun if Abe Lincoln was gay, right? We could have debates. What was the better beard? The one on his face or Mary Todd? It would be more fun if Abe Lincoln was gay. It'd be a better movie. The movie Lincoln, most boring movie of all time. I've sat through classroom documentaries that are more interesting than that. 3 hours long. Daniel Day-Lewis has won 3 Academy Awards. Could not make it interesting. Do you know what'd be a good movie? Brokeback Lincoln. I watched the fuck out of that. You thought Abe Lincoln hunting for vampires was cool. Wait till you watch him hunt for dick. Be a better ending. It'd be a better ending. John Wilkes Booth shot him, not because of the Confederacy, but because he loved him and he just couldn't let him go. Brokeback Lincoln in theaters President's Day, because we finally have a use for that holiday. I met a woman who changed my life recently. I met a woman, not romantic. She's the new cashier at the Dunkin' Donuts I go to. Changed my life. She's a 47-year-old white lady with a hollow teardrop tattoo. Fuck Dos Equis. This is the most interesting person in the world. her name tag, Chyna. I was like, Chyna, that's pretty. She goes, a lot of people up here get that confused. Down south, that's Cheyenne. I'm like, nope. I'm like, that's not how they spell that anywhere, actually. Had an experience with Cheyenne, changed my life for forever. I was in Dunkin eating a breakfast sandwich, and this woman walked in. And the best way to describe this woman, she had on like the big sunglasses women use to hide their aging, and her hair was cut at the angle of racism. So I think we know who I'm talking about. And she walked in, and someone was holding the door for her, and the first thing she said was, "Move, get out my way," which is something only ludicrous should ever say. And she walks in, she orders a coffee, and she gets on the phone, and out of nowhere she goes, "Oh, nothing, in Dunkin, waiting on this bitch to give me my coffee." And I was like, "Oh, yes, today's the day I see a murder. Great." And Cheyenne hears this and comes over and goes, "Ma'am, what did you just say?" And the woman goes, "Could you hear me?" And Cheyenne goes, "That's how ears work." And I was like, "That's fucking true. That's a good point. She got you there, lady." And Cheyenne goes, "Ma'am, do you know what this tattoo on my face means?" And the woman goes, "That you're white trash." I'm like, "You're going to double down on a face tattoo?" And Cheyenne goes, "No, ma'am, it means that while I was in prison, someone in my family died, and it got real uncomfortable in Dunkin' Donuts." Yeah. And then Cheyenne goes, "Do you know what it would mean if I got it filled in so it wasn't hollow anymore?" And the woman goes, "I'm so sorry. No, what would that mean?" And Cheyenne goes, "It would mean that I killed somebody, and I have a tattoo artist on speed dial. Here's your coffee. Don't be slipping these streets." What the fuck? Best moment of my life. Here's the thing. She never swore. She never raised her voice. Handled it very calmly, in my opinion. Might have threatened her life a little bit, but she handled it very calmly. So I walked over, and I was like, "Cheyenne, how'd you handle that so calmly?" And she goes, "Easy. I put a dog laxative in her coffee. Fuck that bitch. She's moving silence like lasagna." And I was like, "Are you Lil Wayne? What is going on right now?" Best day of my life. I peaked at 29 years old. I am 29. I had a buddy who had a kid when we were 20, so he's got a 9-year-old son. And what I've learned from this, kids ask really hard, serious life questions that everyone answers like a clown because of innocence or some bullshit. I don't get it. We were eating lunch the other day, and out of nowhere, this 9-year-old just goes, "Hey, Dad, what's gay?" I'm like, I've never been so excited for a conversation in my whole life. "What's gay, Dad?" And my buddy didn't know what to say, and he looks around the room, then he looks at his sandwich, and he goes, "Well, son, you know, some people eat peanut butter and jelly. Some people only eat peanut butter, and some people only eat jelly." And I said, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?" I'm like, "That's not gay. That's psychosis. No one's eating jelly sandwiches, you weirdo." I explained sexuality to a 9-year-old. He handled it very well. I'm looking forward to how my friend handles race relations. It's not going to go good. "Hey, Dad, why is everybody so different?" "Well, son, some people like mayonnaise. Some people like salsa. Some people like Hennessy. I don't know. Fucking anything works, kids. Stop asking me questions." Put that joke on the internet. Did pretty well. Got 50,000 views on TikTok in a day, so I went and read the comments. Don't ever do that in your fucking life. Don't ever. If you put anything on the internet, don't read the comments. It was mostly a lot of British people being like, "You've never had Jamwich before?" And I was like, "Nah, I live in America. We won the war. Our soil grows peanuts." That joke's more fun now that the Queen's dead. Okay. NFL season just started up again. My buddy was like, "Hey, we're going to go watch football at my friend's place. He's a chef." I was like, "Okay, cool. Good time." And then we got there and I found out he's a pastry chef. And I was like, "I've been bamboozled. Not cool. Not cool. This is not what I want when I watch sports. I've never been so wrong about anything in my whole life." This man made us souffles. We had to be quiet for a long time because they're apparently very delicate dish, but they're delicious. And then he made us the best cookies I ever had in my whole life. They're beautifully glazed and everything. I was like, "Hey, man, these cookies are incredible. What's in them?" And he goes, "Cinnamon. I'll tell you a secret." And he winks and goes, "Love." I was like, that was weird. Also, the best food in the world not made with love. I've seen Chef Gordon Ramsay cook. The best food in the world is made with rage. Or if you go to any fast food restaurant, teenage angst and middle-aged depression. That's how you make the best food in the world, man. I was walking around this pastry chef's apartment, and I saw something that didn't fit in. He had an AVN award, which if you don't know, that's the Oscars for pornography. And I was like, that's weird. And I read the label on it, and it said Chef Boyardee. I'm like, oh, it's a gag gift. That's hilarious. So I walked over to him. I was like, "Hey, man, where'd you get that gag gift? That's so funny." And he looks at me and he goes, "That's not a gag gift. That's real." And I went, "What?" And he goes, "That's how I paid for pastry school." I was like, "That's not a thing." I'm like, "You did it, but you didn't have to. You could have just worked at a bakery. You didn't have to do porn." And I looked at him. I was like, "Hey, man, so when you said you made these with cinnamon and love, did you mean cinnamon and semen?" And he goes, "No." And I'm like, "All right, I'll eat 3 more. They're the best thing I've ever had in my life." People say porn's too accessible these days. I don't think so. I think it's just the right amount. I was on a website the other day scrolling looking for one, and I saw one that said woman sleeps with son's friend. And I was like, that'll do. That'll get me where I need to go. And I click on it, and it's some 35-year-old dude pretending to be 18. And he walks into his buddy's house, and the woman's folding laundry, and he goes, I'll help you with that. And I was like, that's never happened. That's never happened in the history of the world. No one's ever walked in and been like, let me fold my buddy's briefs for you. So they start folding them, and she goes, we should have sex. And he goes, totally. I'm like, this is not how 18-year-olds talk. Who wrote this? And they start having sex, and out of nowhere, the person who's supposed to be his friend's dad walks into the scene. I was like, this wasn't advertised. This is a fun twist. I was like, M. Night Shyamalan direct this? What's going on right now? And he goes, oh, my God, what are you doing? And the woman goes, this is because you don't know how to treat me. And the guy goes, well, the kid does have an impressive piece, which is weird to say even in a porn. And then the woman goes, yeah, I bet you're gay and wish you could suck it. And I had to turn the porn off because I never laughed so hard at anything in my fucking life. I was like, I'm not going to watch porn after hearing the greatest roast joke of all time. They should change the title to Man Gets Fucked by Joke and give that woman an AVN. I love this city. I love Chicago. I think Chicago is the greatest city on earth. If you don't, you're wrong. Yeah. I love Chicago. Chicago is the best form of public transit in the world. It's got the L, the elevated train line. It's a steel tube that floats along the sky in electricity, and everyone on it is out of their fucking minds. And I love being a part of it. I was on the L one time. This little girl was watching Dora the Explorer on her mom's phone, full volume. An announcement comes on. It says, please be conscious of others while using mobile devices and set your phones at a reasonable volume. And a woman in full business gear leans over and goes, guess some people can't get that memo, huh? And this girl's mom goes, are you talking shit at a 7-year-old right now? And she went, yes, I am. And the girl's mom explained why that was ridiculous. I'm kidding. They fist fought, and the little girl recorded and yelled, World Star, because this is America, baby, and that's how we deal with shit. I heard my favorite sentence of all time on the L. I was on the L. This couple was looking at engagement photos, doing that cutesy thing, that back and forth. It's like, which one do you like better? No, you pick. Which one do you like better? And some guy went, hey, can I see them? And they just showed a stranger their engagement photos. And he looked at him for a minute, and he goes, honestly, I don't think either of you are that attractive. Just fucking pick one. Then tossed him the phone and got off in the same motion as the doors open. And I was like, holy shit, that's what that Foo Fighters song was about. There goes my hero. Best city on planet, man. I got held up at gunpoint recently. That was scary. Yeah, no. Not even in Chicago. Fucking, I was in the suburbs. Turns out, whole goddamn world's dangerous. Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, no. I was in the suburbs. Yeah, me and one of my best friends got held up at gunpoint. And this dude walks up to us, and he goes, give me all the money in your wallets. And I always thought if this was going to happen, I would turn to Jason Statham. Turns out, I just ask a lot of questions. I was like, do you also want my credit cards? I don't want to get shot over confusion. And he goes, what, so they could track me? I'm like, you're a very smart criminal, sir. So I gave him the $33 for my wallet, and then my buddy hands him a 20. And the guy goes, hey, man, I can see you have another bill in your wallet. Give it to me. And my friend goes, yeah, that's my lucky $2 bill. I can't give that to you. And I went, what the fuck did you say to the guy holding the gun? And he goes, you know, I'm Irish, man. It's my lucky $2 bill. I can't give it to him. I'm like, I'm Irish, too. That's not a thing, dude. Give him the bill. And he goes, I can't, man. I was like, dude, I paid $400 for a suit for your wedding because I was your best man and your wife made me buy it. She wouldn't let me rent it, and I don't like your wife for $400. So you're going to give this guy this $2 bill so I don't get shot in the face right now. And the guy holding the gun and the money goes, this is a $55 argument I don't want to be a part of, and hands the money back and walks away. And my buddy goes, lucky $2 bill, motherfucker. And I was like, I'm keeping all $55. You got robbed tonight either way. All right, you guys have been fantastic. I've been Brian Roe. I appreciate you. I love you all. I love you, Chicago. Thank you.
Brian Roe, you guys.